Okay, on number 24, it says fill in the missing parts of the following proof. So we're going to look and see what is given, and we're going to mark this information over here. So it tells us that C is the midpoint of BD. Therefore, that makes segment BC and segment DC congruent to each other. And then it tells us that segment AB and segment BD are perpendicular. So that's a right angle. And that segment BD and segment DE are also perpendicular to each other. So that's going to be a right angle. Now, one other thing that we do know is that these vertical angles are congruent. So we can go ahead and mark those. So if we look at these two triangles, we can tell that we can prove they are congruent by angle, side, angle. So now we just need to write our proof. So the first thing in our proof, it says that C is the midpoint of segment BD. That is given. It also says that segment AB is perpendicular to segment BD, and segment BD is perpendicular to segment DE. That's also given. All right, the next reason says definition of a midpoint. Well, the definition of a midpoint says that it divides the segment into two equal parts, or it's the middle of the segment. So we're going to put the two segments that become congruent because of that midpoint. So we know that segment BC is congruent to segment DC, and that's by definition of a midpoint. Now we call these vertical angles. So this is angle BCA and angle ECA. Those are congruent because of the vertical angle theorem. Remember, the vertical angle theorem says that vertical angles are congruent to each other. And then it says that that angle ABC and angle EDC are right angles. And the reason I know that is because I know the definition of perpendicular. Perpendicular says that it creates a right angle. So this would be definition of perpendicular. The next reason says that all right angles are congruent. So I'm going to state the two right angles and say that they are congruent to each other. So angle B is congruent to angle D because all right angles are congruent. Therefore, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle EDC by angle, side, angle.